Hello, cousins. Happy Wednesday. Hey, Kendra, how are you, beautiful? I know I am extremely late tonight, but I wanted to drop in because I missed last week and I missed week before last. And so I wanted to make sure that I checked in with my cousins just to let you know that I am thinking about you, that I am praying for you. And I wanted to share a couple of things that I heard tonight. And I'm hoping that it will bless your life as much as it blessed mine. So hopefully, we'll get a couple of cousins to drop in and hang out with us tonight. And I'll share what's on my heart or what God has given me on tonight. So, the first thing I want to share with you is that we've been talking a lot about the pressure in this season. We have been talking about the pressure that happens in the third trimester when you are going through, when you're close to your birth, right? We know that we're entering into a birthing season. And the last quarter of this year, we're going to see some amazing things happen by the hand of God. We are going to see some supernatural doors open. We are going to see supernatural debt cancellation. I'm fully believing God that some of you are going to walk into new deeds and you're going to open up your own LLCs, and God is just opening tremendous doors of opportunity for you. And so knowing that we're going into that, we know that in seed and harvest and even in birthing, that there is often pressure and pain that is connected to that process. And so just before the baby comes, it's when the pain is the most intensive. It's when the pressure is the most intensive. And so I just want to encourage you on tonight to know that when you're going through, when you're in your pressure place, when you're in your place of it's time for you to push now, you've got to know that if you are still in the place where you are ready to push and you still feel the pressure, that means that you did not quit, right? And so because you did not quit, it also means that you still qualify. Because you did not quit, you qualify for what God has promised. You qualify for what God has stated will be at the end of 2020. Your 2020 is not over. You still have an opportunity to receive all of what God has for you, to walk in the manifested blessings that God has for you, to receive all of the promises that He's spoken over your life. So if you did not quit, you still qualify. And then the other thing I want to encourage you on tonight is that there is nothing that you'll ever go through in life that God is not going to reward you for. So, meaning if you go through it, there's going to be a reward connected to it. There's going to be a reward connected to your obedience. There's going to be a reward connected to your faithfulness. There's going to be a reward connected to the fact that you stood in faith and you trusted Him to be God. You gave Him an opportunity to show Himself strong in your life. There is going to be a mighty reward connected to that. And so I want to encourage you on tonight to make sure that you don't drop your assignment in the midst of your contraction. Don't drop your assignment in the midst of your pain. Don't drop your assignment just because you're experiencing a little pressure right now. I want you to use that pressure and allow that pressure to push you into your next wealthy place, to push you into the place that God has already preordained for you to be. He has created some amazing things for you, and He has some amazing things waiting for you on the other side of your pressure. And so my word for you on tonight is just push. It's time to push. So you're going to push through the pressure. You're going to push through the pain. You're going to push through the frustration. You're going to push through. Hey, Melody, you're going to push through and you're going to walk into exactly what God has for you. So again, those three things that I want you to remember on tonight. One, if you did not quit, you still qualify for what God has promised you for the end of 2020. If you did not quit, you still qualify for what God has promised you for the end of 2020. I heard that today and it just stuck with me. Blessings to you, Facebook user. It's amazing that if, when we're going through situations, sometimes we don't realize, hey, Faith, when we're going through things, we don't realize that the mere fact that you are still in the fight qualifies you for the promise. The mere fact that you are still going through, that you are not going to stop, that you are still in the press, that you are still in the fight, that means that you're still qualified for the reward. You're still qualified for the promise. You're still qualified to see what God has said about you. This is not a revelation that I got on my own. Okay. This is literally, I clicked on a live tonight and I heard it and it just rung. And I'm like, wow, God, that's language for what I've been hearing. It's language for what I've been seeing in this time period. The other thing was that there is never anything that you'll ever go through in life that God is not going to reward you for. Meaning, every step of obedience, there is a reward connected to that. Every movement in faith, there is a reward connected to that. Because you chose to trust his voice, because you chose to be obedient to his voice, God is going to faithfully reward you for your faithfulness. There have been some times in my life and some seasons in my life that I've gone through that God has specifically said, this reward is for your faithfulness. So there is nothing that you're ever going to go through that God is not going to reward you for. Okay, so don't worry about what the experience feels like now. Don't worry about what the challenge has looked like up until this point. Some of you have gone through some things that have felt like hell has been on your heels, and it has. Because the enemy is attempting to take you out, but what he doesn't realize is that because he's coming after you and you've already got a made up mind, you've already made the decision that I'm going to seek the face of the Father, that I'm going to be obedient to his voice, that I'm surrendering my will and I'm picking up the Father's will. What he's actually setting out and putting in motion to stop you is really going to be the very thing that propels you into your next. It's going to be the very thing that propels you into seeing what God has for you. So what the enemy meant for bad, it's going to be for your good. I know we've been hearing that for years, but I'm telling you that in this season, because you did not quit, because you did not faint, because you kept going, even when it got hard, even when it got tough, even when it got frustrating, even when it hurt, even when you had to do it scared, even when you had to do it alone, even when you had to do it broke, even when you had to do it disappointed, even when you had to do it disheartened, even when you had to do it frustrated, it's going to pay off. There is going to be a reward connected to it. God is just that good. That's what he does. He is faithful to his word because he's already spoken a word over your life. And we've got a word on the end of 2020. We're going to finish 2020 strong. God said it's not over. It's still going to happen. That thing that he spoke into your life, that thing that whatever it is that he promised you, he said it's still going to happen. All you have to do is remain in faith and don't quit. As long as you don't quit, you still qualify. And so I love you ladies most much. I know it is extremely late. I was going to come on earlier and then I waited until the debates went off. But I just want to remind you on tonight, because it was a reminder for me. As long as you haven't quit, as long as you're still in the game, you're still qualified for the promise. And so I know sometimes it feels like, God, there is absolutely no way that this is still going to happen. Like with everything that's going on around me, with everything that I've seen, with everything that I'm feeling, it looks like all of hell is coming against me with the people that are coming against me. And again, I'm going to encourage you and remind you of the word that I gave you a couple of weeks ago. If the greater one is on the inside of you and there's a full grown Jesus that lives on the inside of you, what's bigger than a full grown Jesus? What can take out a full grown Jesus that lives on the inside of you? There is nothing that can stand up to you that has the ability to take you out. Our God is bigger. Our God is stronger than any opposition that will ever come against you in life. He is bigger. God is greater. There is nothing that can stand against him. And so the word tells us that the weapons will form, but they cannot prosper. So on tonight, I just want to remind you of proper perspective. I want to remind you of proper perspective. You've got to keep proper perspective. You got to know that God is faithful and there is nothing that has the ability to take you out. And because he's for you, it doesn't matter if the whole world is against you. Because God is for me, I win. Because God is for me, I'm already a champion. Because God is for me, I have to come out on top. It's not optional. So Latrice, what if it doesn't look like I'm on top? Then you keep going. You keep going until you are on top, because it cannot end. It will not be over until you win. And you've got to be convinced in your mind. You've got to be convinced in your heart that I have to win. God created me to be a winner. He made me a winner. When I accepted him into my life, he made me righteous. Now, because I'm righteous, I have access to everything that God said I could have. Everything that he said is mine. Now I'm in full pursuit of everything that God said. So I'm being obedient to his voice the first time that he speaks. And so, I'm going harder than I've ever gone before. It doesn't matter how it feels. Yes, there are going to be some days where you're going to cry your eyes out. Yes, there's going to be some days where you feel like you want to fight the world. And there might even be some days that you got to air punch. Like y'all remember in the movie, what was the Boyz II Men, when Cuba started air punching and he started air fighting people? Like he was just throwing swings because he was so frustrated and he was so angry about the situation. There's going to be some times where you literally going to have to air punch the enemy. Like you're going to have to go to war physically just so that you can remind yourself spiritually what you need to do. And you have to open your mouth and utilize the authority that God has already given you. Always go back to the word. As long as you are still in the game, as long as you don't quit, you still qualify for the promise. As long as you don't quit, you cannot drop your assignment. What God said about you still is. What God said about you still is. Nothing has changed. It still is. You are still a mighty woman of God. You are still a woman of virtue. You are still a Proverbs 31 woman. You are still the head and not the tail. You are still a kingdom financier. You are exactly who God said you are, regardless of where you are right now. It doesn't matter what you see right now. It doesn't matter what you see right now. What did God say? I feel like I need to put that on a t-shirt. What did God say? Because that's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that I'm going to allow to direct my thoughts. That's the only thing that I'm going to allow to direct my actions. I'm about to take a huge step of faith. And you know why I'm taking a step of faith? Because what did God say? God said I could have it. It's mine. So now I just need to move in it. It doesn't matter if things don't look the way that I want them to look. It doesn't matter that before I was concerned that people were going to judge me or they were going to think this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter what they feel. What did God say? What did God say? That's the only thing that matters. If God gave you a yes, then you move forward with your yes. If everything in the natural says no, but God says yes, you move forward with your yes. And watch him show himself strong in your life. Watch him open some doors that you never thought you could open on your own. And guess what? You won't. But because there is the greater one lives on the inside of you, because there is a full-grown Jesus on the inside of you, you are going to supernaturally walk through some doors this year. Not 21. There are going to be some doors there too, but I'm talking about this year. This year, you're going to walk through some doors. This year, you're going to receive some contracts. This year, you're going to receive some increase. This year, you're going to make some divine connections just because you trusted his voice, just because you trusted his word over everything that you saw. Sometimes God will put you in a place that he'll give you a situation just to see if you're going to choose him, just to see if you're going to believe him. Go back to Job and think about Job and think about when the enemy went to God and he had a conversation with him. And God said, well, have you tried my servant Job? Have you tried him? Because I know, I remember God told me that I've tried you and I found you faithful, and it blew my mind. Like, wait, what? God said, I've tried you and I found you faithful. So that means that sometimes there's some storms that you've gone through that God has allowed those storms to see whether or not you're going to be faithful. Is she going to love me when things aren't going the way that she wants to? Is she still going to confess my word when she's hurting? Is she still going to say yes to me when she's dealing with some hurt and when she's been abused and when she's been left and she feels lonely? Is she still going to cry out to me? Is she still going to worship me? Is she still going to stand in faith and believe what I said to her, even when everything looks the complete opposite of what I told her? Is she still going to believe? Is she still going to say yes? Is she still going to lay down her life when it doesn't feel good to lay down her life? Is she still going to say yes? So there's some things that God just wants to know. Can I trust you? Am I going to find you faithful? Because a lot of times we give God our lip service, right? God, I'll worship you. God, I'll be there, God. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to turn back. And at the first sign of trouble, you ready to throw in the towel. You ready to tuck your head. You ready to tuck your tail. You ready to run. Like, God, this is too much. Well, Jesus died on the cross for us. How much do you think that was? How pleasant do you think it was for him to have nails in his hands and in his feet? How pleasant do you think that was? How pleasant do you think it was to have people spitting on him? How pleasant do you think it was to be humiliated in the streets for something that he hadn't done when he was completely faultless and he had to go through all of that? How pleasant was that experience? So what you're going through does not even compare. It'll never compare to what he did for us. It will never compare. So where is your heart really? Other than your lip service, because we all want to sound like good Christians, right? We always want to look like good Christians, right? We want to look and sound like we're doing the right thing. But when you get to the heart of the matter, when you get to the core of the matter, where's your heart then? Where is your pressure then? Like, where is your placement then? Are you still crying out, God, I'll bless you. God, I'll trust you. When it doesn't feel good, I trust you. When I'm hurting, I'll trust you. When I got tears crying down my eyes, or are you mad at God? Like, God, why am I here? God, why you let this happen to me? Why? Where are you? It's a clear indicator of where your heart's position is, where your heart's posture sits. And I know, like, I don't even know like how we got here, because that's not what I came to talk about tonight. But I just want to remind you, I heard it tonight and it stuck. As long as you don't quit, you still qualify. As long as you don't quit, you still qualify. So are there going to be some days where you're not as eager as you are on other days? Absolutely. But with my mouth and with my heart, I will still bless him. No matter what, God, I'm still going to love you. No matter what, I'm still going to cry out to you. No matter what, I'm still going to lay my life down before you, because I believe you, because I trust you. Because, Father, just like you tried me and found me faithful, there are many gods that I could pray to. There are many gods out there. But what I know is that I tried you, and God, I found no fault in you. I tried you and I found you faithful. I tried you and I found you consistent. I tried you and I found you loving. I tried you, God, and you were my consistent friend. You never left me alone. You never left me by my side. Can he find you faithful? Can he find you faithful? Stay faithful in your pressing season. Stay faithful as you're pushing this baby out and you're getting ready to give birth. As long as you don't quit, you still qualify for the promise. You still qualify for what God has for you in the remainder of 2020. And I told you earlier, we're finishing strong. We're waxing strong at the end of 2020. We're believing that we're going to walk into the full manifestation of everything that God said about us. Y'all, I know I have not seen any of y'all comments. I love you though. Oh, what I'm going through does not compare, Melody. It doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. That part, Faith, if you fall to pieces in a crisis, there wasn't much to you in the first place. I love the message version of that. I do. And I used to quote it all the time. It was a reminder. I think it's probably still on my IG. Like, if you fall to pieces in a crisis, there wasn't much to you anyway. Where do you really stand? Where do you really stand? Have you really surrendered all of yourself? Or is this really about you just getting what it is that you want to God? Like, you're not in this because you surrendered your life and you want to be used by him. You're in this because of what you can get from him. You got to locate your own heart. Like, God, why am I in this? Why am I confessing to believe you the way that I do? Is it because I want something from you? Is it because I want the material that's connected to you? The Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom. So we got to go after his heart, the heart of God. We got to go after his heart. God, what is it that you want from my life? What is it that you created me to do? What is the purpose that you've placed on the inside of me? Because I want that. I want to walk in your purpose for my life. I want to walk in your will. I want to be pleasing in your sight. That's where my heart is. I want to go out and love on others because you loved me. I want to show others the love of Christ because you loved on me. Are you still treating him like a Santa Claus God? Are you still treating him like a genie in the bottle God? There are some things that are going to come to you. Absolutely. Just because you made the intentional decision to seek him first. Just because you made the decision to seek him first, there's some blessings that's going to come from that. He said, I'll add all the other stuff onto you. So some of you are looking at other people and you're wondering why, like, God, why does it seem like they're moving faster than I am? Maybe they sought him and you didn't. Maybe you were focused on the wrong things. Maybe you weren't focused on his heart. So I love you. Melody, that absolutely is manipulation. But you know how many people want him to be a Santa Claus God? Like those people that reach out to you and they want you to pray for them every time they get into a sticky situation. Like whenever they get in a bad spot, then it's like, God, why didn't you answer? God, why aren't you answering? But you ain't talked to him since the last time you were in a sticky spot. Where's the relationship? Why don't you love on him on the times when you're okay, when you're on top, when you're winning? Why aren't you loving on him then? Why is it that you're only seeking his face when you need something, when you need a handout? When you need him to do something for you, then he's the first person that you reach out to. Like he's on the top of your list. Like, I know God can do this. Absolutely he can. But in the words of Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? Like Prophet Janet was on it. Okay. What have you done for me lately? When I invited you into worship with me, where were you? When I invited you to sit at my feet so that I could pour my oil on you, where were you? All right, ladies, I've been on here for 21 minutes. And it's kind of late tonight. I know I got a very late start. And I'm on here like fresh face and everything. So you know I love y'all, okay? Y'all getting all of Latrice in her pure state on tonight. Shalette, that's it right there. In the middle of my trials, I will still bless him. Love you too. I do. Yeah. God wants to know that he can find you faithful, that when you don't need anything, you're still seeking his face. Like God, and there are some days when I just go into worship and I go into prayer. And I'm like, God, I don't want anything from you. I just want to love you. I just want to tell you how amazing you are to me. I just want to tell you how thankful I am to know you. God, I'm just so thankful to know you. I'm so thankful to be able to depend on you. I'm so thankful that I can just sit on your feet, God, that I'm your daughter. I'm thankful that you call me friend. I'm thankful that I can just rest in your presence. I'm thankful that God, can you imagine going through your life and not knowing him and not having him? Like there are some things that I've gone through in my life that I cannot imagine. I probably would not be here today had I had to go through those things without him. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in my right mind if I had to go through them without him. My sister, not too long ago, we were talking and she said, you know, when you talk about your carjacking, you talk about it so freely. Like you talk about it like it's nothing. You talk about it like it's an everyday thing that people go through. They get carjacked and abducted and, and they're fine. Like you talk about it like it's no big thing. And I thought about it later and I'm like, you know what though? Like that's God. It's all God. Like the reason that I'm able to walk and talk about it, the reason that I'm still here, like it literally is God, him strengthening me in that moment, him reminding me in that moment that he had plans for my life and there was purpose on my life and that that wasn't my expected end and I couldn't go out at that time. So regardless of the foolishness that they were talking, like they were discussing what they were going to do with my body, but they didn't even have that power. They didn't have that authority over my life. They didn't have the authority to kill me. Let that sit. Like they didn't have the authority to kill me. So yes, they had guns. Yes, they were driving around in this car. Yes, they thought they did, but they didn't have the authority. Like God had already created a way of escape. He had already, brought someone along who was going to end their plans while they were still in the process of planning. So the enemy might think he has your end. He might think that he set up this amazing plot that's going to take you out. And God is like, yeah, no, that's not happening either. I got her. There's already a hedge of protection already surrounding her. So no matter what you throw at her, she's covered. No matter what you send her way, because she belongs to me and because I have her ear, I can tell her in a matter of seconds to move and she's going to dodge whatever you throw at her. Think about that. Like God can literally whisper a word to you in a matter of seconds that will completely set the enemy's plan to be void and null and have no effect on your life. Just because you were obedient to his voice, just because you were obedient the first time that he spoke. That's why it's important to be positioned for purpose. That's why it's important to be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, sitting at his feet. God is like, I'm always here. If I told you in my word that I would never leave you and I would never forsake you, then if I'm with you, why am I going to let you take a hit unnecessarily if I'm with you? Think about it. Think about your natural father or your big brother or whoever that protector was in your life. Like, think about it. They're not going to walk with you on the sidewalk and see a bully come up and let the bully punch you in the face. No, because they see it, they're going to protect you because they're with you. That's the same way with God. God is like, I'm with you. I never leave you. I'm always with you. All you got to do is listen. All you got to do is follow my instructions. I got you. I'm going to protect you. Just trust me. So even when it comes to walking out your purpose and walking out what it is that God has placed in your life, because some of you, God is birthing ministries. For some of you, God is birthing new assignments, and He's told you some things to do, and you're looking at it like, God, this is big. This is too much. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And God is like, all you got to do is do it. I'm with you. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. No matter where you find yourself, I'm going to be there with you. Just do it. Just do it. And I'm talking to y'all, but I'm talking to myself too. If you came on late, I said earlier, like I'm literally stepping into something that I have been afraid to do for years. Okay. Fear. All right. Afraid. And now I'm just doing it. I'm stepping into it because God is with me. Like, if He's with me, what is there to be afraid of? Fear is not of God. He's never going to leave me. He's never going. God said it. He said I could have it. It's mine. Okay, let's do this. Let's do it. Even if you got to do it with fear and trembling and your knees shaking, do it anyway. And watch God work. Watch Him show you. Just watch God show Himself strong in your life. You're literally, and I've said this, I have prophesied this over this entire group. Watch God show the strong hand of God. Watch Him show you His strong hand on your life this year. This year. All right. I love y'all. I'm so excited about the remainder of 2020. I just want to encourage all of you. It doesn't matter what your faith step is. It doesn't matter what it is that you got to do. Like for some of you, you're starting businesses. For some of you, you're starting to write. You're writing new journals. For some of you, you're starting a ministry. For some of you, you're starting a podcast and a vlog and all this exciting stuff. Just do it. It doesn't matter if you don't have the full instructions yet. It doesn't matter. Okay, God, my answer is yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. If you got to do it scared, if you got to do it alone, if you got to do it by yourself, if God said it, trust it. He does not lie. He cannot lie. The minute that He says it, it becomes truth. The minute that He releases it, it becomes fact. Think about how He created the world. The minute that He opened His mouth, it was. And because we are made in His image, we have the same authority. The moment that we open our mouth, it is. What did God say? Because whatever God said, that's what you should be saying. Come into full agreement with what God said. If God said you were going to have a business in this season, I have a business in this season. If God said He was giving you a new car in this season, I drive a new car. If God said He was giving you a new home in this season, I am a homeowner. If God said He was increasing your clientele, Father, I thank you for increased clientele. I thank you that I have new clientele coming from the north, the south, and east, and the west. What did God say? Because that's what you should be saying. One of my current cohort students reached out to me today, and I was talking to her on the phone, and she said, I just have to share this with you. She said, I think she said she saw it a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, and she said, it didn't go away, so I felt like it was time for me to tell you. And I said, okay. And she said, I was on a live, she said, and I looked up in the corner, and I saw the number 12. And she said, and then I looked again, and it said 12,000. And I knew exactly what it was that she was seeing in the spirit. I knew exactly what it was. I knew what it was. And I said, you don't even understand what you are releasing to me right now. You're providing another confirmation for me that I need to do what God said. Just do it. It doesn't matter what it looks like right now. It doesn't matter that I see a 9 right now in the corner, or I saw a 15-year-old. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What did God say? That's what I say. The masses are coming. The people are coming. The students are coming. The clients are coming. The business is growing. The conferences are coming. It's coming because that's what God said. And I'm going to declare and decree what He says until I see what He said. Until I see what He says. And then when I see what He said, then I'm going to confess what He says then, because the moment that it manifests, we don't just stop there. He's going to give us new instructions for the next. We go from glory to glory. We're going higher and higher in him. We're not quitting. We're not stopping. We're going to receive everything that God has for us. My prayer for every woman connected to Position of Purpose is that when you leave this earth, that you're going to leave completely empty of purpose, that you will accomplish everything that God has placed on the inside of you. I've been talking to you guys for a couple of months about God raising a new remnant in this season, and now we're beginning to see it. I'm seeing it from I'm hearing it from other prophetic voices, and I'm seeing it in other people teaching, and they're sharing that this new remnant. I've been talking to you guys about this new remnant rising for 6 months already, because that's what God said. That's what God said. I am PJ. I am 12. But yeah, it is completely empty, y'all. We're going to do everything that God has for us, and we're not going to miss out on anything. God said he's restoring our years. So it doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter. You're still going to accomplish everything that God created you to do. Everything. Everything. All right, ladies. I'm going through the comments. Oh, have you, Shalette? That's crazy. That is crazy. All right. I love you ladies most much. Have an amazing evening. Thank you for joining me. If you didn't catch the beginning, you might want to go back and just catch that first 10 minutes. But just know that if you haven't quit, that you still qualify for what God has for us in this year. So make a demand on the remainder of your 2020. You're still going to see it happen. Believe God, believe his voice. If he said it, it's yours. Begin to take steps to walk into what God has said about you. If God told you to start that business, get the paperwork. If God told you to start that website, girl, go buy the domain. Whatever it is that you need to do to put some movement behind your faith. Faith without works is dead. God said it. It's yours. Go for it. I love y'all. Have a good night.